Cool. John, CTO and co-founder of Felt. Welcome.
Hi, I will. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you? Hope you've had a good week.
Thank you. Thank you. Excited to be here with your listeners.
Cool. All right. So I caught the elevator up to the second floor this morning at work. It didn't take long. If you were in that elevator with me, though, what would you say about Felt?
I would probably say, hi, Will. How are you? How's your day going? Then if I were to tell you about Felt, I would say I work at this company. It's called Felt. Felt is the best way to work with maps online. I would tell you that people in all sorts of industries struggle to work with maps and geospatial data. Felt fixes that problem. Felt is the best way to work with geospatial data, especially with your team collaborated on it, with everyone involved, do it in a secure, fast way, and it all runs in the browser.
Perfect. Sounds nice and easy to start using. It's also sounding like it might be an intuitive system to use. One term that stuck out there was collaborative. You're making me think of Mural. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, it's very similar to tools like Mural, Mira. You heard of tools like Figma. I think the next generation of browser-based tools are not just about being in a browser, but it allows you to work with your team. And I think that takes many forms. The thing that I'm most excited about is with Felt, the latest version of your data is always right there. So you don't have to like ship around different files. Everyone is working on the same version. You can see who's worked on it. You can see who's working on it today. But not only that, you can also control who has access to it. So it's not just willy-nilly. So it's kind of like best of both worlds.
Yeah. Okay. So more specifically then, what niche do you dominate? You said web mapping, but is there some specific type of that?
I think the niche that we dominate is people working with geospatial data. Generally, people call this industry the GIS industry. Obviously, this is sort of familiar to you and your listeners. But I think anyone who's worked with like GIS tools have like felt the pain that it is really hard to work with those tools, and it's really hard to collaborate with your coworkers, and it's really hard to do it in a secure way. So the niche that we like to dominate is the GIS field.
Wow, so it's the whole lot then. Excellent.
I mean, the more people we can help, the better.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so on the investor side, what is the skin in the game of owners, management, and staff?
Yeah, for sure. We're a VC-backed company. We raised total of like $19.5 million from probably the best VCs you can find on the block. And the way you do it, the goal of like raising money is not to raise money, right? The goal of the money is to help people to be able to hire people to be able to like create products. Obviously, it's like a VC-backed company. So Sam and I are the founders. Everyone, including me, everyone, all our employees have equity. Everyone has equity in the game. So everyone has like skin in the game. So I'm very proud of the fact that everyone is like working really hard. I think everyone really like puts their, heart and soul into this product, and it really shows.
Yeah, for sure. Just a side question. So is there a particular VC scene that you find that's easier to raise money from or easier to network in? Is there a location that is? Everyone thinks of Silicon Valley, but is it?
I mean, I only lived and worked in Silicon Valley in a professional capacity. So it's not really up to me to decide and tell people how it works. I heard from the grapevine that Bay Area, being focused in the Bay Area, definitely helps. You're just like in like with more conversations. There are a lot more of these, conversations happening around town. So I don't think I'm like the best person to like gauge this because my entire professional life has been in the Bay Area. But probably Bay Area does give you a bit of like an advantage.
Yeah, sure. But as I understand, you're in New York at the moment.
I'm in New York right now. That's correct. But the company we founded in the Bay Area. We started 3.5 years ago. We have 5 people in the Bay Area, including the CEO. I'm currently based in New York, but the company is based in like Oakland, California.
All right, that was the most awkward staged way to finally have an excuse to put my cap on. There we go.
I hope you enjoy your time in New York. I'm sorry we couldn't meet up, but
That's okay.
hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was there a couple of weeks ago. It was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So who's your ideal customer? How do you ensure you're always working backwards from their needs?
Sure. Our ideal customer is really anyone who works with geospatial data. And I cannot stress this enough. I think in general, the companies who have large swaths of data and have trouble communicating, collaborating across their different teams, they find the most value immediately. You can see their eyes light up when you can invite people to a felt map by just like sharing a link versus all just like SharePoint, other events. So large companies see the value immediately because collaboration for them has always been like a big problem.
Yeah.
Second part of your question, how do we make sure that we go backwards from their needs? I love this question. We talk to our customers constantly. I think every single person inside the company has like talked to a customer one way or another. But not only that, we have a customer success team that just like we reach out to our customers proactively. It's like, hey, when you sign up to File, start using File, you'll automatically get like a direct link to someone's calendar. Book some time and tell me what you're trying to do, how well Felt is responding to your needs, and like what would you like to be involved. We collect all those conversations. They're all public inside the company. It's visible to everyone. They're all transcribed. So we talk to customers over and over again. We reach out to them proactively. We make it very easy for people to talk to us. And if any of your listeners want to reach out, just like shoot out an email to support@Felt.
Yeah.
Someone will see it. Someone will get back to you in less than a day.
Okay, so a key one there seems to be that you're going out of your way to make it easy for people to talk to you. There's not some big, long 10 minute, not a form that takes 10 minutes to fill out. You're trying to have spontaneous ad hoc contact.
Yeah. We will reach out to people asking them to like talk to us, and then we will make it very easy to like book some time on anyone's calendar.
Yeah,
that's one of the things as a small company, something that we can do. You know, it's like very easy, and I hope that we can like maintain that as we get bigger and bigger. Just want to make it very easy to talk to like a customer.
Yeah, sure. Okay, all right. So how fast and sticky is growth?
Knock on wood.
In a general sense.
Well, it's very good. The short answer is like very good. The way I think about it is that we should always be drowning in customer conversations. Obviously, it's not support conversations we're going to be drowning in, and luckily we're not. But we hear so many people wanting to like talk to us. So many people say, "Oh yeah, like I'm excited about this feature. Can I use it this way?" So it's a good problem to have. We're like definitely trying to like build our internal systems to make sure that we can kind of like handle the incoming support requests and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping things go at this clip, but it can always go higher. You know, that would be a good problem to have.
Everyone in the leadership of every company always has that perspective. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Another way for everyone to track you is to look at your hires and the careers page. That's another way to gain a sense for the growth.
Sure. Yeah, we're hiring for a few roles. It's at felt.com/careers. So if anyone's interested, I look at those emails every day. I read every single email. I may not be able to like respond to every single one, but I look at everything. I click on every link.
Yeah. Cool. I've just got another side question. So one thing I liked about Mural is you can see other people's mouse cursors going around on the screen. Is there a similar effect in Felt?
Yes, of course. If you kind of like log into our, go to our website, felt.com, you'll see the cursors moving around. Those are not fake. You will see other people be active on the map as they like move around. We had that technology built for years.
Awesome. So are you saying you've got a general sort of public map that anybody can sort of cruise around on and graffiti?
Sure. Yeah, we definitely have that feature too. We had maps that have gone like viral online on
Yeah.
Twitter, social media, and you will see like hundreds of cursors moving around. It definitely does happen.
What's an example of one?
We had one a while ago about someone made sort of like a jokey map about different like San Francisco neighborhoods and like how this. It was sort of like a bit of like a joke map, and it kind of like went viral. You just see like all these like cursing around. The more
Yeah.
interesting in this case is we actually use our product internally. Uh, is a similar fashion to Mural. Like all the collaboration, like when we want to do like a whiteboarding exercise, it happens on Felt. All
Yeah.
our employees like log into Felt. So there's a lot of sort of like we use it internally as a mural replacements just because of those features too.
Yeah, it sounds like essentially an online whiteboard that happens to be able to handle geographic data.
Yeah,
I mean, not
definitely.
to minimize it at all, but to highlight the interactive nature.
It is. It
I
is
mean,
definitely a tricky thing to build. The cool thing with like Felt is that like it will work at like any Zoom scale, right? Like it'll work when you're at the street level. It will work on your country level, continent level. So that allows you to like do very complicated analysis very easy for different people to understand. So
yeah,
you have people who work at like continent country scale, but sometimes they have like street level impact. So you can add those different kind of like data sets. So you
yeah,
only have consultants use it in that like fashion.
yeah. It's also reminding me of Prezi. I don't know how popular that is anymore, but that was another sort of web-based replacement for PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. All right. So a result of your organization working backward from customer needs is Felt 2. So several spatial analysis functions were added. What are they, and what did customers say to you for you to add those particular functions?
Yeah, we've added several different spatial analysis tools. And I think spatial analysis it like encompasses many things. The first set of sort of tools that we built were we call them transformations internally, but very common GIS operations that people are trying to accomplish, right? So there's a buffer, bounding box, centroids, clip, being able to count points under a polygon, dissolve, uh, intersect, subtract. How we found them is, I mean, this is kind of trite, but you just like listen to people. You
Yeah,
just basically ask them. We have all these like multiple ways we talk to people. And then we ask them, hey, what were you trying to do on Felts? Were you able to accomplish that goal? Great. If you weren't able to accomplish that goal, what were you trying to do? For example, people very openly tell you, like, oh yeah, I was trying to do like understand how many houses are under this like sunshade area, right? Like they have the house data, which is like points, they have the shade area, which is like grass polygons. And then you want to be able to do like counting points under this polygon. The the interesting thing, and I think that's something that we do well, is like being able to tell what people are trying to do and like map them into the GIS terminology, right? So some people, if they work with like GIS, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do something like dissolve, which sounded like tricky. Some people like do not know what it is, but like when you listen to them, they tell you understand, and now you can kind of go and like build it yourself.
that's a key issue in working with customer needs, I guess, is to translate them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's like repeating over and over again, but just listening to people will tell you a lot. You just need to sort of like keep an eye for it.
Yep, sure. Okay, so an example analysis that you describe is determining which site is best for power generation. So how can this be done with Felt?
Yeah, I mean, there's like multiple things you can do. Like, first of all, one of the features that Felt is that we have world-class hand-created data layers. And one of those data layers is all the US, for example, let's think about like the US, which is where I live. We have a data set about like all the US electric transmission power lines. Outside the US, we have like global power plant databases. Like you have these data sets available to you without you doing anything. But you're not limited to those. Felt will work with like whatever data sets you have. It's going to work with like raster data. It's going to work with like vector data. It's going to like understand some of the quirks of your data sets, but will always allow you to like change them up. So you'll be able to like upload, let's say, like a wind power data or sun coverage data or you can upload like data sets about like how much volume, like what speed, like rivers are carrying like water. So you can combine them, for example, with like a transmission lines, and you can kind of like create this like analysis. And the cool thing is like, because like Felt works at like every zoom level, you can kind of be like, okay, this is the area where we're gonna like install these like power plants, and this is the power lines that's gonna carry them, and these are the neighborhoods that are gonna be impacted. So it's gonna work at like every zoom level. You kind of like do this like analysis, and you can like share it with other people.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a bread and butter task. A common term that's used in this context in the industry is a multi-criteria analysis or a constraints assessment, followed by an optimal path assessment if it's for linear infrastructure or just, optimal siting. So, I mean, and the sort of workflow you might go through in a professional context would be to consult with a number of disciplines, environmental professionals, geologists, all of the subject matter experts that would be able to tell you about constraints. And then you might go through a pretty detailed data collection exercise where you find all the national bodies that provide authoritative data sets about those constraints. Then in consultation with those disciplines, you might have a rating or a scoring for each of those constraints. And then you convert all that vector data to raster data with the score for each one. And then you sum them all into a single raster surface. And that can make it quite easy to run algorithms over that to help you to find the optimal paths or sites. What I've heard from you is that it's not quite at that level with Felt.
I would have to like look into the specifics of what you're talking about, but we definitely have customers use it for like site suitability analysis, which is I think the term people use in the US.
Yeah.
So Felt will work with data, like vector data, and then you'll be able to, for example, assess the data. You'll be able to like categorize the data. You'll be able to like categorical visualizations. Not only that, you'll be able to like select certain categories and like turn them into like different layers.
Yeah.
You can
also, so you can do some reclassification of data, or it's not just visualizing.
No. Sorry if I wasn't clear with that.
It's okay. Yeah, just trying to understand. Yeah.
Also, a couple months ago, we unleashed this new feature. You can actually run practically arbitrary SQL analysis on like Felt data set. So you can kind of like see the entire data set. You can like filter it yourself. You can do things that like between this number, that number, with these like columns like present. So you can actually do that kind of stuff. And not only that, this is like something we're working on. This is like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but it's coming out soon. So I feel comfortable sharing. So we are also constantly working on our API. The good thing with an API, if your viewers don't know, API is a way for essentially exposing Felt internals in a programmatic way so people can like plug it in. So we want people to be able to like use Felt's power and being able to like analyze, being able to normalize different data sets into one, being able to do like very complex spatial analysis via the API. So they will be able to do that stuff. They will be able to make a map automatically. You mentioned like these consultants, like other people who are not sometimes like geospatial experts. You'll be able to like make a map, whatever you need to do. Sometimes like do some very specific like algebra, very specific functions you need to run. You'll be able to run them on your end, submit the results back into Felt. You'll be able to submit the map automatically to some other people. They'll be able to make comments. You'll be receiving notifications about those comments. So which make sure that Felt works with your systems, no matter how complex your use cases are.
Great. Okay. I can see how you're creating it, you're positioning it to sit within a broader ecosystem.
That's exactly right way to do it. We want to make sure that Felt integrates cleanly and very easily with your existing tools and like workflows.
Yeah, cool. Okay. I think what I should do is try to do a multi-criteria analysis or site selection analysis in Felt and see how far I get. So
and wherever if you have any feedback, Definitely let us know with
Of
support.
course.
Uh,
And I know how to submit that now.
Yeah, 100%. We have like very advanced YouTube tutorials. If you go to youtube.com/feltmaps, we have explanations of all how these like features work. There's a wealth of information I'm happy to share with you and your readers afterwards also.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I had a related idea. It's because it's really difficult to use sites like Zillow, Redfin. These are the real estate sites in the US to, especially if you're new to an area. And I can't, like, you can turn on schools that are above a certain rating. You can turn on other layers like community facilities. You can select only the houses that are within your price range and, with the right number of rooms and things like that. But I couldn't help but feel if only by default each real estate website actually was a multi-criteria analysis platform and each user had their own heat map, if you like, expressing their preferences. And it would just automatically draw your eye to the houses in the locations that suited you. And I couldn't help but feel like there must be other people that have that experience on these websites. And it made me think, maybe there's a web mapping business opportunity there.
Felt supports heat maps. You can create all that stuff with Felt one way or another. Wherever it is not possible, I'm sure we can find a way to make it possible.
Sure. Okay. That's good to know. Okay. So what's the most impressive or unexpected use of Felt's spatial analysis functions you've seen?
I mean, there's so many. I'll tell you my recent favorites. We have customers that are tying up Felt's analysis tools into tractors that they feed data from Felt directly into these autonomous tractors.
Cool. Okay.
What is kind of cool is that if you kind of like think about it, Felt is now the connectivity issue between satellites in the space that take certain pictures with like various sensors. They analyze it on Felt. They draw on Felt the paths these tractors should be taking, and they load them into the tractors. So
awesome.
We have kind of like this like issue, but all these things are really cool. But sometimes, like as an engineer, you're kind of like, oh yeah, tractors, so cool, satellites, amazing. But sometimes it's also the small things that really impact people's like day-to-day lives that I find like excited by. Recently, someone shared with me how in Milwaukee, people are using Felt at a local level to make the case to their local city governments for better transits.
Yeah.
So it's not just like giant corporations using it, but also like people are just like finding value in this tool, and they're making the case to their local city governments, be like, hey, just the transit, and like you can just do that with Felt. You can like add transit layers. You can do sort of like choroplets. So choroplets is a way to sort of like see like how far you can kind of go. And you can just like do that with Felt, and then like make the case for better transit in your city.
So can you calculate catchment areas then from a given location traveling along a network?
With some effort, yes.
Okay. Yeah. This reminds me of, I think, your co-founder's previous project, Remix.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any?
That was definitely a big transit focus for Remix. Transits and obviously catchment areas. I think there's a separate term in the US, but yeah, it's definitely his bread and butter.
Sure. Yeah. So another side question. I know you've got quite a versatile data uploading tool. What's it called?
We call it Upload Anything.
Okay. So can it handle GTFSs?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. Because that's quite a complex file system. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then AI is all the rage these days. What are you doing to stay competitive amongst others like GIS Carter, a former guest on the podcast, MapsGPT, and BetterMaps.ai?
Yeah,
all of those are guests, by the way.
For sure. Well, I'm great to be in like such a company. The way I think about like the AI tools is, I mean, they're great. I personally love them. I use it all the time for various different tasks. I think the most important thing is to be able to like tie it to what users are trying to do. We don't want to like push down AI tools down people's throat just because it's cool and fancy. Um, there are a couple different ways we're using AI. First of all, we use it when people like upload data to file. We use it to help us like understand some of the addresses. That happens transparently. We can kind of like we use it to like understand, for example, like an address field, like which part is the state, which part is the street number, the zip code. That's been sort of like a small use case that like added a lot of value, and like we don't need to like tell people. We don't need to sort of shove down like AI down the throat. But the more surprising ways I would say like we've used AI tools is internally. I think most of our engineers are using a version of like GitHub Copilot or what have you. And it's definitely made a remarkable, noticeable improvement in people's productivity, primarily when people are jumping into parts of the code base they're not immediately familiar with. I think that's like right there. And it's like one of those things that makes Felt better. So we can like launch features better. We can like work on, make sure they're like less buggy because it's like so much easier to write tests, functional programming tests with like these like AI tools. So the way I think about it is that it's not really about like adopting the cool new technology. It's about like, okay, what are the problems that our users are facing? And then are there some of them are like solvable better with like AI? If so, yeah, we'll definitely use them. But we don't need to like shove it down people's throats.
Yep. No, again, I appreciate the emphasis on the discipline of working backwards from customer needs, even with the most hyped topics. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I to be very clear, we use it, but most of the use is like internal for internal productivity. Like I believe in a competitive marketplace. I want to keep ourselves competitive, and the way we do it is like make ourselves as productive as possible.
Yep. Yep. I have to say I've used it in the same way. Yeah. Okay. I also wanted to quickly mention about you saying that an interesting application of Felt was in farming or agricultural equipment. That relates to the precision agriculture sub-index of this geospatial index that I'm maintaining. So the components there are Komatsu, Kubota, AgCo Corporation, and John Deere or Deere and Company, just to flag that. Was it any of those companies or was it a smaller?
I think it's best for me to not talk about
No problem.
or not. Right? Like, I would like
Just seeing what I could get out of you.
customers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So last of all, what qualities, skills, or ambitions should an apprentice have to do well at Felt? Generally, how are you fostering growth of the next generation?
Yeah, we do multiple things for next generation. I think next generation of engineers, next generation of GIS people. First of all, Felt is free to use by educators. So if someone is running like a GIS course or they want to use Felt in their classroom, Felt is free to use for those folks. We want to make sure that we kind of like encourage next generation of GIS people to be like using best available tool. And I think the best available tool is Felt. Second one is that I think the greatest people at any level, whether apprentice, entry level, mid level, tenured, highly tenured, everyone wants to like develop at their skill. So I want to make sure that like every single employee that like joins Felt, they're working on something, let's say in a 6 months or a year, something they thought was like hard when they joined, and now they're working on that stuff. So I ask people like, okay, like what is the next challenging thing you should be working on? Because if you can do something very easily, okay, let's give you something harder. I think the greatest people like find energized by that one. So we try to look for those kind of qualities in people when we hire them.
Okay, that's a really great message to finish on. So do you have any social media handles, any newsletters, other ways to reach out to you?
Yeah, well, the best way to reach out to Felt is we have a social media on Twitter, X, whatever it's called today. Felt, twitter.com/Felts. We had a username. We have, well, if people would like to sort of like join our newsletter, all they need to do is like sign up, and we'll kind of like allow you to like join the like customer newsletter. It goes out every 2 weeks. We have a YouTube youtube.com/feltmaps. We're recently very active on Reddit. So we have the rfelt subreddit also, reddit.com/rfelt. And now your users can find links to all those. I know I mentioned a lot at the bottom of our page. So if they go to felt.com, scroll all the way down, we have links to all those like social media platforms.
I just realized I didn't ask the most important question. How on earth did you come up with the name Felt?
It's a bit of a lore at this point, but we wanted to sort of like have a short name because I think it's like much easier to like find short products. We wanted to sort of like convey like an ease of use. So instead of like calling it with like Kit Box HQ, we wanted to have something a bit more artistic, something a bit more tactile.
Yeah.
So we made like a list of all tactile things, brush, felt. Felt.com was one of those things that was available. So we went with that route.
Yeah, I can see the emphasis on giving it broad appeal and trying to go beyond just the more technically savvy user.
Yeah.
Cool. That's another good message. All right. Well, great to chat, John.
Yeah. Thank you, Will. And thanks for having me on your podcast.